Good morning. The last day of Mare Fair and Phauxe.
So here goes. My name is Kim. I'm 56 years old. I've loved horses since I was 3 years old. My babysitter across the street had this white horse named Sinbad. She sat me on him, that was it. I got the bug my whole life. I rode a little bit from the age of 5 to 10, and by 10 years old I had to have my own horse. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and my parents said, it's not fair if we buy a horse, that's not fair. We go out and buy a horse, we pay for the boarding, we're not doing the same for your siblings, we're not gonna buy you a horse. And what if we buy you a horse and you get over it? You don't like horses anymore. You go off to college and you don't want to do horses anymore, we've got a horse. But every year they did allow me to take lessons every week. They sent me to horse camp every summer, and my senior year of high school, they leased a horse for me. But life happens, and I did go off to college, and then I got married, and then I had a bunch of kids, and then I got divorced, and then I worked 3 jobs, so I never really had time to do anything. And when I was 37 years old, I bought my first horse. His name was Taz. And for any of you that are horse people, he was a standard bred. He was a harness racer. He came from Ohio. He had 3 speeds: walk, pace, run. You can really only sit and walk. His pace was so bad, you could not stay on this horse. My friends used to love to take me out with them when they were on their gaited horses, because I would be bouncing all over the place and they were just sitting still, and they thought it was pretty funny. So I got Taz, and I boarded him at first. And then a horse came along named Belle. And she was much older and just needed a home. And I had young kids, so I took her too. So now I had 2 horses. And then I bought a farm with a 10-stall barn that I turned into 14, because you can never have enough stalls. And I got a phone call 13 years ago. Hey Kim, there's this horse at a camp, and they posted on Facebook they have 5 days to find him a home or they're going to euthanize him. He's lame. Would you take him? And I was like, guys, I'm working 3 jobs. I was a single parent. I had 5 kids. I'm working 3 jobs. I got 2 horses as it is right now. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this. And then I saw his picture, and I was like, I'll go get him. And I went and got him on Saturday. And that was early bird. We called him Earl. He was 6 years old when he came into my farm. He was skinny. He could barely walk. And I didn't know what was going to become of him, but I knew I had to do something for him. My vet came out in Ohio. We figured out what his issues were. He gained a bunch of weight. He became totally sound. And at the time, my daughter Trinity started riding him. He was a gentle giant. He was 17 hands high. But he was a gem. So I had Earl for 3 years. Trinity's riding him. Life is good. I have 3 horses in this huge barn. Then I thought, you know what? I think I can do this. On a smaller scale, but I think I can do this. So people would call me and say, hey, I know you have a stall, and I would take a horse in. But I never really had more than 3 or 4 rescues on my farm, and I've always had personal horses. And then on September 13th of 2012, I was driving to work, and I had a massive stroke. I went from being completely normal, perfect health, to not being able to walk, talk, dress myself, get on and off the toilet, do anything. The whole left side of my body didn't work. And I had teenage boys that had to take care of me for a year. And they didn't know what happened. And the horse community and all my friends came in and helped me and took care of my horses because I couldn't do it. 14 months later, I had a second stroke. And this time it affected me cognitively. For 27 years, I had been a workaholic. Partially that was my drive, partially I had to do what I had to do. to keep a nice house, to keep my kids taken care of. It was just me. And I realized after that stroke, I wasn't gonna be able to work ever again. I would sit down at a computer and I couldn't recall how to go to the next slide. I couldn't remember, well, yeah, I enter information on this screen, but what do I do next? And at that time, they deemed that I was gonna be permanently disabled for the rest of my life. And I have to be honest, at 46 years old, this was a very, very difficult, dark time in my life. Single parent, bunch of kids. At this time, I had 12 horses, couldn't even take care of them. My kids used to take me out in my wheelchair, push me into my horse pasture. Forgive me if I get a little emotional. And I used to just talk to God and say, if you'll just let me ride again. Just let me ride again. I didn't care if I could walk. Just let me get on a horse. Let me ride again. I'll do whatever you want me to do the rest of my life. Whatever you want me to do the rest of my life. Because the ability to ride was gone. That part of my memory was gone. I didn't even know how to put a bridle on a horse anymore. At 48 years old, I started taking riding lessons. And I learned to ride again. And I learned to walk again. And I learned to talk again. And I was told that I had a 78% chance of having a third stroke and that would be fatal. And that was 10 years ago. But I didn't buy into that because I knew I had a purpose and a plan. I got a second chance at life at 46 years old. And at that moment, I said, you know what? I'm gonna give horses a second chance. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look for the blessing in what's happened in my life. I get to be a full-time mom now. I'd never done that before in my life. I had to go back to work in 8 weeks. I'm gonna be a mom and I'm gonna do horses full-time. This is what I'm gonna do. And I did. I moved to Florida 6 years ago from Ohio. I bought a 7-acre farm in Ocala. I brought 14 horses with me, 7 personal, 7 rescue. And then I started 4 years ago doing some work for Fallen Oak. They would call me up and say, hey, can you foster a horse? Hey, can you transport a horse? And I would do it. And I always did it very cheap, so they used me a lot. And then I was approached 4 years ago. We want you to take over the rescue. We see what you've done. We see what kind of person you are. Will you take it over? It's been around for 12 years. Will you do it? At the time, there were 27 horses in the rescue. That's a big step up from 14. Thought about it for about a month, and I said, yeah, I need to do this. So I took over as president. My first day as president of Fallen Oak was March 1st, 2020. And then COVID hit. So we went from 7 people on a board, 4 foster homes, donations of $5,000 to $6,000 a month, to 3 people on a board, 2 places to keep horses, and $2,000 to $3,000 a month. It was the most trying time with horses. At one point I had 43 horses on my property. People couldn't donate, they didn't have money. People were losing their jobs, people were laid off. People were dying. I lost my son-in-law to COVID during that whole thing 2 years ago. So I could empathize with what people were going. How can I ask people to donate for horses when they don't even know how they're gonna pay their rent or feed their family? But I knew I couldn't walk away. So I got into my retirement account. Oh, God. That started with $113,000, which as I sit here now and speak to you, has remaining $38,000. Because I had to do something. That was my responsibility. These were my horses. And there were days I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is so hard. But then a horse would come in, as I'm sure many of you saw the pictures of what they looked like when they came in. And then I rehabbed them. And the joy in that, I couldn't stop doing what I was doing. I was just gonna trust that I was gonna be good. And even today, 4 weeks later, it's week by week. I've had people come up to me and say, hey Kim, what kind of money do you have in your account? What does this cost? And that's a very valid question. I would want to know that if I'm going to donate to somebody, I want to know, what does this cost? And what do you do with the money? I said, would you like me to pull it up on the rescue account right now on my phone? Because I'm happy to do it. There's $24.73 in the bank account. This week I paid for the horses, personally. But guess what? Because of what you all are doing, what you've done these past 2 days, I've raised $1,000 in my box. I don't have to pay for the horses for the next 4 weeks, because you guys did. Every single one of you did. When we were talking about what I should call this forum, I kind of lagged on it. Josh can attest to that. He said, Kim, I need a title. Kim, I need a title. And I was like, well, I don't really know what to call it. I really had to think about it for a while, and I said, you know what? It's horse rescue. The good. The good is when I can bring a horse back from near death to a completely sound horse and adopt it out to a little girl, and she keeps it for the rest of her life. That's the good. The bad is when I get a phone call, oh, I have a thin horse, it has a little spot of cancer, or it's lame, or it can't walk, and I pick it up and it can barely get on my trailer. And then I have to call Dr. Hall and say, I need you to be here tomorrow. And she comes and says, you can't do anything. This horse is in organ failure. This horse is in excruciating pain. We can't fix it. Numerous times I've come to her and said, what are the chances? The most recent one I had, this horse couldn't even move. And she said, Kim, you got a 20% chance of saving her. And I said, that's 20%. I gotta try. I have to try. And I tried for 6 weeks. And I couldn't fix her. But I know that she knew love for 6 weeks. And she was pain-free for 6 weeks. And now she's running free. And she knew love when she left here. A year and a half ago, Earl was having some breathing problems. So I had Earl x-rayed, and we found out he had 20% lung function in his right lung. See, something about rescue horses, people aren't honest. They can tell you, oh, they have no issues. But they usually do. Because there's a reason they want to get rid of them. Because it's a cost to fix them. And they don't want to do that. Or they want you to euthanize them. They don't want to do that. Earl had had an untreated upper respiratory infection or pneumonia years ago. It had completely scarred his lungs. I had to put him on steroids. I was told at that time, long use of steroids leads to laminitis. And I knew that. We're gonna have to see how he does. And the first 6 months he did great. Because you see, when a horse is struggling with something internally or with pain, they're burning extra calories. So if you're feeding a horse and they're losing weight, there's an issue. And I couldn't get him to gain weight. After this 6 months, he started losing more and more weight. So we put a plan together with the farrier and the vet. This is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna take it month by month. And things went great for 6 months. And then at a year, things weren't so great. And then we knew it was every 2 weeks. But I fought for Earl because he started it all. And I had to do whatever I could do for Earl because it wasn't for Earl. I wouldn't do what I do. We tried different medications. I got to the point where I was soaking his feet every day and packing them and wrapping them and unwrapping them. I was doing everything I could. And the farrier came one day, and I think I knew in my heart of hearts, it was time. But sometimes you can't make that decision. A lot of times I have to say, Dr. Hall, who's also a horse owner, what would you do if this was your horse? What is the right thing to do? Because I'm just speaking with my heart. And my heart wants to save everybody and do anything I can do. But sometimes you need to speak with your head. So a lot of times, she's my voice of reason. And the farrier picked up his foot, and he had no new soul. And he said, Kim, it's time. And I said, I knew you were gonna tell me that. And I ugly cried right there. I called Dr. Hall and I said, it's time for Earl, but I'm not ready. I need 10 days. I need 10 days. I need 10 days with them. I need 10 days to grapple with this, to deal with this. And you know what? I was ridiculous to think that I was gonna be able to deal with it in 10 days because I cried every single day. I spent every single moment that I could with them for 10 days because I knew it was coming. And the day that it came, I don't know if any of you really know the procedure for euthanasia. There's been I've had a lot of different vets over the years, and I've had a lot of people do it different ways. And honest to God, the way Dr. Danielle does it is the most humane and the most beautiful way for the end of a horse's life that it can be. And we took him out. The other director, Theo, was with me under a big oak tree in the retirement pasture, because I have a retirement paddock just for my sanctuary horses. And she put a catheter in his neck and she gave him a little drug to make him a little sleepy. And she said, like she always says, whenever you're ready. I wasn't ready. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour. You say when. After 20 minutes, I still couldn't say ready. So Thea, the other director on the board, was the one that had to do it. And he went to the ground, and I got on the ground with him. And I held his head in my arms. And I thanked him. Because of him, I do what I do. I made this picture with the eye, the kindness in his eye. It's all because of him. And I had him buried under that big tree in my pasture. And I have to be honest, it took 6 months before I would even walk over there. And it was very difficult when I prepared everything for this with Earl. But that's the blessing. You all are a blessing. These horses are a blessing. People say, oh, you're so good to them. Oh no, they've blessed me. More than I can tell you. So much more than I can tell you. This is my life. I will never sell my farm in Ocala. I will live there my entire life. I will do this as long as there is breath in my lungs. And my boys know when I'm gone, it will pass to my daughter. This is what I'm called to do. And to be able to be here with all of you, what you're doing, it's just such a gift. It is such a gift. And people don't understand. What's it really cost? When a horse comes into me and Dr. Hall comes out, their teeth are never done. Half the time, they're so pointed and sharp, they've cut the sides of their mouth, the roof of their mouth, or their tongue. So they can't even eat correctly. They haven't had shots. They don't have a Coggins. They haven't been wormed. Their feet are horrific. Just to bring a horse into the rescue is almost $400, just to walk in the door. Then I have to rehab them. Grain is now $31.75 a bag. They have to have high fat, senior feed. In the state of Florida, we don't grow hay, with the exception of a grass hay called Tifton and Coastal, which really don't have a lot of nutritional value. So I have to buy orchard and alfalfa hay, which runs anywhere from $28 to $32 a bale. One horse can eat that a day. The expense is astronomical. And then if they need a surgery, just to walk into the clinic, $2,500 just to get into the hospital. Just to walk in. You might have a surgery that's $4,000 or $5,000 or $6,000. Fortunately, the vet practice is lovely. I always have a balance. I'm just keeping it real. I always have a balance. And I always call or send a text. I can pay this on this date, this on this date, this on this date. But I always have a balance. Always. But they're okay with it because they know what I'm doing. We're known for taking the horses nobody else will take. I take horses that are a body score 1. Sometimes they're not even a full body score 1. Optimal is a 5 or a 6. I take horses that sometimes come off the trailer and cross the bridge within 3 or 4 hours because there's nothing I can do. But I don't just take horses that are seized from the county for neglect. A lot of people call me and say, hey, I have 4 horses, my wife died. I can't take care of them. I know nothing about horses. They're starting to get skinny. Can you please take them? I'm picking 2 up on Saturday. 68-year-old lady, fell and broke her leg. She's gonna have several surgeries. Will never be able to walk normally again. She has 2 horses. Will you please take them? They're fat. They don't need to rehab. They haven't had their teeth done. They haven't had their shots. They don't have a Coggins. So just walking in, that's $325 right there. And their feet, she said, are in very bad shape. So I don't know what that's gonna entail. And she said, I don't have any money to give you and I'm so sorry, but I have a really nice pony saddle. Maybe you can sell it and raise money for the rescue. I help people from all walks of life. Life happens. We all know that. It happened almost 4 years ago when COVID hit. But life happens anyway. People lose jobs. People get sick. People die. And there's horses that are left that need help. We do something a little differently also. I offer sanctuary. We're known for that. If a horse cannot be adoptable for a variety of reasons, right now as we speak, there are 7 horses on my farm today. There are 6 that will be there within the next 13 days. So we'll be back up to 13. Of the 7 on the farm right now, 1 is adoptable. 6 have sanctuary, which means they'll live at the farm until it's their time to cross over. They're all different ages. I have a 6-year-old horse that was born with a birth defect. He'll probably live there 30 years. And I'll take care of them for the rest of their life. There's just so many different things that happen. There's just so many different situations that happen. I want Trinity to get a chance to talk because I have something exciting to tell you towards the end and I don't want to do that yet. I want to give her a chance to talk. What Josh said is very accurate. Trinity and I do it all. We feed the horses, we bathe the horses, we bring the horses. Dr. Hall is our vet. We have a wonderful farrier. I am always open to volunteers. If you're ever, I'm an hour and 15 minutes from here. If you ever want to come see the farm, text me. My phone number is on my flyer at my table. Text me, send me an email. Anybody is always welcome. If you live around here and you want to come see what's going on, let me know. If you're ever looking for a horse, you need a companion, or you need a riding horse, please reach out to me. Just know you're always welcome. Anyone is always welcome. Go ahead, Trin.
Hi, Lisa. I've worked in the rescue with my mom for like 4 years now, and I'm gonna be sharing 2 of the stories of like horses that have come through the rescue that have like really touched my heart. There's been multiple, but I had to pick 2 of the most special ones. So first, so we got a call on, I wanna say like May 28th, I believe, from an ex-jockey saying she had a horse that injured herself on the track and that they just didn't want her anymore, so we needed to come pick her up because they don't know what they're gonna do with her. So we ended up picking her up on June 1st, 2021, and when we got there, she explained that she had a sesamoid injury in her right back foot. And a sesamoid injury is basically a strain causing inflammation on the actual sesamoid bone and the ligaments surrounding it. So a lot of times you can't really use a horse when they have like that type of injury. So we took her in and we found out that not only did she just have an injury, she also was full of ulcers and was like super underweight. So we called the vet out, we got her started on some medicine to like get rid of the ulcers, and she started to gain weight and started to feel better, and we got to learn a lot about her just like within like the 2 weeks that we had her, because she got to feel better. And she's a really funny type of horse. She's like very, how do I explain this? She's like super like cuddly and like nice to people, but like to other horses, she's just kind of like, I don't really like you. She's a non-sweater also, so her sweat glands like don't produce like almost any sweat, so it's really hard for her in Florida because of it being so humid out. She can't sweat, which causes her to get like dehydrated, I guess, sometimes too. And so like basically she was what like a lot of people call like a throwaway. Like she couldn't race anymore, so they just decided, oh, like I'm done with her. And what someone else's throwaway can be somebody else's, like, I guess, like winner, because she's capable of almost like anything now that she's rehabbed. And basically like the point of like what I'm like trying to say is that, sorry, it's just kind of like hard for me, but is that when people throw away a horse, that like, it's just so like difficult to see and like watch people like get rid of horses because they can't perform anymore. And a lot of times they're put in bad situations where they are not taken care of or neglected. And that's why we have to, at the end of the day, come and get them. And sorry.
You're doing great.
We have to rehab them, and it's just, especially like at my age 14, it's just really hard to see people like the way that they treat these animals, because they deserve like so much better. And at our table you can see like the pictures where they're like so skinny, and like there's like no excuse for not taking care of your animals. And so basically Sunny is living out her days until I'm probably gonna keep her until she's at our pasture in Wearsdale for a couple more months, and then she's gonna come back home. And we're actually gonna start working with her pretty soon and restart her, which means she's gonna be able to be rideable again. And if she doesn't work out for us, then she'll probably be adoptable. So I need to look at the page for more updates of her, because there'll be some more soon. So this is actually Sunny, and this picture is for sale at our table. And yeah, and if nobody buys a picture, then I'm gonna keep it. The next horse that I'm gonna talk about, his name, oh, please excuse me if I get like upset over it, because I really, really loved him. But his name was Hellcat Pilot, and when we got him, he was 24. We got him February 1st, 2023, and we received a call saying, oh, these 2 girls, they had him for how many years? 12 years, and their parents got a divorce, and currently Erin, she was taking care of him, and she just did not have the funds to take care of him anymore. And he was in perfect shape, perfect everything. So we went and we picked him up, and well, we attempted to pick him up. He did not want to get in the trailer the first time. And yeah, it took 4.5 hours, and then we had to go back the next day and pick him up. And so we brought him home, and he is also a really funny type of horse. You can't tie him up, you can't really do his feet, you can't put him in stall. Everything has to be on his terms. Like if you're leading him and he doesn't want to be led anymore, he'll just like rear and be a little sassy. But he raced for 10 years and raced over 90 times and won over $100,000, which is pretty impressive. And so he was just living out his days, and I was just hanging out with him a lot because I thought, oh, I'm gonna have him for like a while, like a super long time. So like, might as well like give him a bunch of like spend a bunch of time with him and like try and like ride him again possibly. But he's a little forward, so.
And then I didn't have any money. So I still need one more shelter, and I really desperately need a wash rack. And I desperately need a special gate because people will just open my gate and walk into my yard. And sometimes I could have a dangerous horse in my yard. Like if you walked into my gate right now, my daughter's yearling is in there, and he might try and bite or kick you. So, I mean, or bite your car, because he just did that to his husband 2 days ago. Yeah,
There's a huge scratch.
yeah. So, you're welcome to come anytime, but you just can't walk into my yard because you don't know what's going to be in my yard. And I have German Shepherds also, so they might be out. So we walked through everything in the farm, and I said, you know, there's so much I had to do that I wasn't able to do. And actually, when Josh came out, I had very, very little grass and any paddock on my farm because at one time I had 43 horses there. So it was wall-to-wall horses. And we have sand. So horses grab the grass by the root and pull it out of the sand. So it's not like where I used to live in Ohio where you have this lovely nutritional grass. That's not the case in Florida. So we walked around everything, and he was like, okay. He was like, you know, we met with a couple, we have one more. And I'll be honest, I wasn't hopeful. I thought, he's not gonna pick me. I'm not this big fancy organization. Yeah, I've saved a lot of horses, but he's not gonna pick me. I didn't want to get my hopes up. And then I called my dad. My dad's on the board also. He's a treasurer because I always think it's important to have 2 sets of eyes on finances. And I called my dad, and then he goes, Kim, they were there for 3.5 hours. If they were left like after an hour, but they were there for 3.5 hours. And I said, yeah, I know, but I'm not fancy. And these other organizations have 20 stall barns. They have a $100,000 budget. And he said, don't sell yourself short. So then I heard him a couple days later, and he said, you know, we're gonna meet before the board, and it's down to 3, and you're one of the 3. And I was like, there's no way. I was thinking about it, there's no way. So then I was a little hopeful. He can attest when he called, they were on speaker, he and Kai were, and told me that I was chosen. I was ugly crying. I was so excited. I can't tell you how often I told him I was excited. I would just reach out to him and be like, I'm so excited, I can't wait, you know, for this whole thing. So when he was at my farm, he noticed on these shelters I have, they're 12 by 24 shelters. They're in every single pasture. I have 2 pastures that are very, very nicely shaded, but I have 3 that really aren't. So I put shelters in all of them. I have signs, and I don't know how long they are. Probably about this long, about this wide, and I had them made. And I have different things on them. On one of the shelters is the lady, it's in honor of a lady by the name of Ada Kazi. She's the one that built my farm. I wouldn't have a farm if she didn't buy it, if she didn't build it. I have one for my son-in-law that passed away, hanging. I have one for a dear friend that was a horse person. And I've just been lulling through my mind, what can I do to recognize this con? What can I do to recognize so that when people come on my farm, they ask, so I can share the story. So I decided, after I got here and I saw all the cute ponies, which I'm super excited. We now have 4 plushies. Never did before. Purchased 2 and were gifted 2. Super stoked. I decided, because I know there's gonna be enough money for a shelter because of all of you, on this sign, I'm having 6 ponies painted in acrylic and you're gonna choose them. So today, I need everybody to come by my table and tell me your favorite 6 ponies. And we're gonna keep a tally, and whoever the top 6 are, I have an artist friend, is going to paint them. I'm going to hang them on the shelter. I will send a ton of pictures to Josh so he can put them on the farm. So anytime anybody comes on my farm and says, what are those 6 ponies? Sorry. I can talk about you. Because you did it. I have met some of the kindest, most welcoming, accepting, compassionate people these past 3 days that I have met, and I can't tell you how long. You are a wonderful group of people, absolutely wonderful group of people. And I am so honored that you chose us. And I give you my word, I am going to stay in touch with Josh so he can know everything you're doing for the Fallen Oak horses. So I think I did pick the perfect name when I said horse rescue, the good, the bad, and the blessing. Because every single one of you at this convention have been a blessing to the horses that are here now, that are coming in, but most importantly, to me. Every one of you have blessed me. I've got to know so many people, and I tell everybody, this is my phone number. Text me, email me, please stay in touch with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I am eternally grateful for everything that you're doing for us. I truly am, truly, truly. If you have any questions, does anybody have any questions? Yes?
So I'm just curious, how are you financially able to go from working 3 jobs to buying your ranch and starting up your sanctuary?
Years ago?
Yes.
When I started, honest answer, grace of God. That's the honest answer. I was home. I tell people this and they're like, no way. And I'm like, no way. I had Trinity at 41, surprise. That was not my plan, I was done. She knows that. I wouldn't trade her for the world because she's the horse girl. I have 2.
Baby too, it's okay.
Yes, I have 2 sons that will ride with me. The other 4 are pretty much, the other 3 are terrified. No, I'm not going near the horse. 2 of them will. I used to work downtown Cincinnati, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Then I would work at an ice cream shop, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6:30 to 10:30. Then I would work Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and I bartended every Friday night from 6:30 to 2:30 a.m. I was home on Sunday, late Saturday afternoons and Wednesdays. And I think it just became a routine. It truly just became a routine because I had to do it. I think everybody goes through stuff in their life where they're not, I don't think I could ever do that. But when you're in that position and you don't have a choice, you have to do it. You have to do it. But I can honestly tell you, like doing horses, especially when I had 43 on the farm, it took almost 5.5 hours a day to feed them. Just to feed them. I had to bring in a huge dumpster just to put poop in. There was so much. It was constant. And my house really suffered then because, I was outside doing stuff. I just did the minimal that I had to do in my house because there was so much to do outside. But even with that situation, I adopted so many horses. And that showed me I could do it. Sometimes I get a call, there's 5. The reason I had 43, there was a call, there was 14. Ex-thoroughbreds, thoroughbreds, ex-racers that weren't being taken care of. So sometimes you get groups, but I have been fortunate enough, and I am on Facebook and I post at least 3 or 4 times a week. So if you're on Facebook, you need to look up Fallen Oak, because I am on there. I was able to lease. Well, I took a little job. I'm taking care of somebody's horses from July to November 1st. She has 25 acres. She said, if you feed my horses every day, you can use one of my pastures. So I was able to take my personal horses and put them on her farm to free up 2 pastures on my farm to totally reseed. So right now I have 3 beautiful pastures and 2 not so beautiful. But I was able to do that. And then for November and December, I know that I'm able to rent the pastures when she comes back. So I done a fundraiser for that. It's $500 a month. And people think that's a lot of money. I mean, I had people saying, why would you pay $500 a month? You want to stop and think of hay? This grass is Argentine Bahia. It's gorgeous. It's a really nice grass. And I haven't had to buy hay for the rescue horses over there all summer. So that has saved me. Right now I'm paying about $250 a week for hay. I would be paying a minimum of $1,000. So paying $500 has really saved me a lot of money. And I've also realized, and I have to be honest, when I took over with Fallen Oak and then we went through COVID and everything, you're not gonna ever do anything that's gonna make everybody happy. There's always gonna be haters. There's haters in everything in our life anyway. No one's ever gonna agree with every decision we make. No one's ever gonna support everything we decide to do. And I used to really take that personally. Oh, maybe I should consider and this and that. And then one day I was like, no, because I'm the one doing it. I'm the one that's with a horse when I'm the one that's feeding. I'm the one that's paying. And I'm not griping about that, don't misunderstand me, but I think that gives me a right to make a decision. Well, maybe you don't have very many funds. This is a big one. You don't have a lot of funds, maybe you shouldn't take any more horses in. I'll be honest with you. If I go through my last $38,000, I go through my last $38,000. I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing. I'm not. I got a second chance. I have to give a second chance. I've sold like 6 or 7 pictures that people have bought and they've all asked the story. They've seen a horse, I really like this one, can you tell me its story? And then I tell them the story and they're like, oh yeah, I have to buy it. I am actually going to put Earl in the auction. I sold one of the big ones to a gentleman that had to leave yesterday. I sold Hellcats to a gentleman, and he said, I've sold horses to people that said, I have to give this to my mom. And I have to know the story to tell my mom, because my mom had horses all her life. My mom loved horses, and I want this for my mom, but I need to know about his life so I can tell him. I chose to put him in there because of his eye. Can you look at that and not see kindness and love? He was beautiful, and you know what, he's even more beautiful, and I can't wait till I get to see him again someday. And then I can ride without a bridle, and I can just ride bareback, and I don't have to worry about coming off and everything else. So, thank you so much. I will say thank you until I walk out of here today, and then I'll say thank you a lot more after that, and I'll probably cry again after the charity auction. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Does anybody else have any other questions? If you want to know specifically how you can help, even after here, reach out to me. I think I'm going to start something new. I think I'm going to allow people to sponsor sanctuary horses. And you're going to get your own photo. I will send you one of the 8x10 photos of the horse you choose to sponsor in the rescue, and update you on them and let everybody know this is Sunny's sponsor. This is Ace's sponsor. And then anytime you want to come see them, you are more than welcome. I'm going to try to do different things, like you can even choose their color. I do that with my own personal horses. They have their own color. I think that would be something that would be engaging. You guys love ponies. I mean, that's clear. That's very clear. And you've created, the creativity is just off the charts. And the style and the colors are just phenomenal. So I know there's people out there that can choose some really good colors for some of these horses. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for coming here and listening to me today and wanting to know what we do. You're very appreciated.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I love it. You're such a great speaker. That's hey guys, yeah, like she said, the charity auction is going to be in this room in about an hour or so. So please come down if you want, and even if you don't have any money, at least you can watch everything happen. Hopefully we can raise some money and really help out the horses and help out Fallen Oak. So that, you know, that's what the big reason why we're doing this convention. So thank you all for coming and supporting us, and yeah, see you maybe in an hour. So thank you. Very special piece. I want to let Kim say something real quick.
For those of you that were here for the panel today, know that my whole rescue journey started with Earl. And so I specifically had a picture taken of his eye, because it was the kindest eye on a horse that I had ever seen. And I was originally going to sell him, and I wanted to see if I could auction him off after everyone was at the panel and heard my story today. Yeah. So I'm not going to put a set bid on this. Whatever you all want to start it out at is incredible, because if you haven't noticed, I've been crying the whole time because I'm so overwhelmed about this. So whoever wants to start.
Okay. $200. Do I hear any other bids? $200.
$250.
Huh?
$250.
$250. $300. Anyone else? $300 for the picture of Earl, the horse that helps Kim go on her journey to becoming what she is today, really. Okay. Was it 300? 300 going once? Going twice? 350. Okay, 350. Anything else? 350 going once? Going twice?
420.
420. Thank you. 420. Okay, 420 going once? Going twice? Sold. 420.
Jack 3 Resurrection.
People to return to their hometown in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for Ponyville Cider Fest, an adventure in storytelling this fall, November 17th through the 19th. I hope to see you all there, and remember, you have the ability to be awesome. Stay tuned and feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys!